suspect!
Coming to get you, Bobber.
Hi guys, my name's Barry and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at Halloween Kills again, and what we're going to be doing is seeing why this movie has divided fans. This has to be the most divisive Halloween movie since Halloween H2O, my opinion anyway. There's half of the people out there are absolutely loving this movie, and then the other half of the fans of Halloween are just not liking it at all. So we're going to look at some of the points in this video as to why some people might have liked certain aspects and some people might have hated certain aspects. First, we're going to look at the portrayal of Tommy Doyle, because some people wanted Paul Rudd back again, and that just wasn't going to happen because Paul Rudd's too big of an actor, as well as his version of Tommy Doyle not being anything to do with this timeline, especially since it was part of a different timeline, and that might confuse people who weren't already confused enough. So Tommy was a character that people were really looking forward to. Was he going to be a good character? Was he going to be a bad character? And for me, I didn't mind Anthony Michael Hall's portrayal of Tommy Doyle. I think he was the male version of Laurie Strode. He went through a similar experience to Laurie back in 1978. So he carries that burden as well, and he's a little bit crazy. So I think his portrayal of Tommy was similar to Jamie Lee Curtis' portrayal of Laurie Strode, and if you're going with that timeline, then it makes sense. But I think some people, from what we saw in the trailers, wanted Tommy Doyle to be a hero. They wanted him to have more lines, and we'll get onto his lines shortly. And I think some people didn't even like Anthony Michael Hall's acting in Halloween Kills. I don't think it is his acting that is the problem. I think maybe it's the dialogue and the script. So the lines that he was given, he'd done the best he could with the lines that he was given, but maybe the lines just weren't good enough. That leads us on to the dialogue for Halloween Kills. The dialogue at times was quite cheesy and quite 80s, if I'm being honest, and I don't mind cheesy 80s lines because that's what I love. But yes, evil dies tonight is said too many times in the movie, and if it was said by one character, I think it would have been more acceptable, but the fact that it was said by 95% of the cast, then maybe it just wasn't acceptable and a little bit too much. But it wasn't just evil dies tonight that was the problem. I think some of the dialogue was very cheesy, and I'll agree with that. I think that's one of the problems that I had with the movie, was some of the dialogue. Even some of the legacy characters with their dialogue, it was a little bit too forced. For example, Sheriff Brackett, or Lee Brackett as they call him now, he said everyone's entitled to one good scare. Things like that was fan service, but even some of the hardcore fans found that a little hard to take. When it comes to legacy characters, that might be another problem for some people, and that divides the fans, because again, it's fan service to bring these legacy characters back, but some of the characters felt like they were only just there for fan service and that's it. For example, Marion. You know, Marion already died in another timeline in Halloween H2O, so it felt like she was getting brought back to redeem herself. Whether the actor thought she redeemed herself, whether the director thought that they redeemed the character, is another thing, but she was brought back just to be killed yet again. So not just Marion, but some of the other legacy characters at this moment in time felt they were only brought back to be killed off. Tommy, Brackett and Marion, why bring them back just to be killed off quickly? Build their characters up again and give them a purpose. Let them live till Halloween ends, but they just couldn't do that with some of the characters. So the legacy characters did divide fans. Was the movie too brutal? Well, it's called Halloween Kills for a reason. The brutality of the movie makes no difference to me. It's Halloween Kills. I think if David Gordon Green wants to go in a different route tonally with all three movies, it has to make one of them brutal. I don't believe it's anywhere near as the style of brutality of the Rob Zombie movies. Yes, it might be as brutal or even more brutal at times, but the level of brutality and the way that it's portrayed in Halloween Kills is more tasteful. I don't even think that would have been possible because it's got kills in it, but Rob Zombie's brutality is very tasteless in the way that he does it, whereas Halloween Kills, I think it's tasteful, if that makes sense. Let's move on to the story of Halloween Kills. Now I think this is where I'm down the middle here, because it feels like there's no story there. And I didn't mind that because I know that it's just a through road for Halloween Ends, but sometimes you have to have some sort of a story if you're wanting to have a middle chapter, because there is some middle chapters of movies that do have a good story. Empire Strikes Back, for example, with Star Wars. So you can make a middle movie with a storyline, but I do agree that in Halloween Ends, it's almost like there's no story. It's just Michael going from A to B, killing people, making his way to Halloween Ends. The ending of Halloween Kills also divides people, and I'm with the camp where I didn't really love the ending of Halloween Kills. I like the ending and I like the story of the ending of it, but I didn't like the way it was done with the whole music video style montage with Laurie speaking in the background, especially with some of the characters who died at the end of the movie. I felt like they deserved their own death personally, and that didn't happen in the ending of this one. So as much as I like the ending of Halloween Kills, I can see why it divides fans, because I've read that some people love the ending of it and some people just didn't like the ending of Halloween Kills. We move on to Laurie Strode. Where was Laurie Strode in this movie? You know, Laurie Strode didn't have a lot of lines and she didn't have a lot of screen time. Now, in terms of the story itself, it makes sense that she wasn't in it as much because she was in hospital and she was wounded. So I think realistically, anything that came out of this story in a positive manner was, realistically, Laurie Strode couldn't be in it as much as they wanted her to be because she was injured and she couldn't do much. But yeah, some people who are fans of Laurie Strode wanted to see Laurie Strode more. They wanted more lines from Laurie and they wanted to see her in action more. But for me, that just wouldn't make sense. But again, it divides the fans. And finally, this is the big one. The movie was not realistic enough or not supernatural enough. So that's completely different sides of the spectrum, because you've got Michael, a killing machine, that people think if you're injured that much and you're a human being, you're just going to die. Or people wanted to see Michael become more supernatural and they felt like they didn't quite get that. So you're not going to please everyone with this one, because some people want him human, some people want him to be supernatural, some people want a good old-fashioned horror movie where you can accept the laws of physics don't exist, but some people want a documentary style Halloween movie, and that's just never going to happen. So that's the biggest division of this movie, because and this is one that I've read all the time, where how can Michael survive that? A human couldn't survive that. And then the counter argument for people is, well, Michael's not really human. Well, I'm in the middle of that, because I think that humans can survive what Michael went through in the last two movies. And you might be thinking, what? How can that happen? Well, this isn't a documentary. This isn't a true crime movie. This is a horror movie. This is a slasher movie. Humans can withstand a lot more in movies than in real life. I'm sure you know that. Sheriff Hawkins, Officer Hawkins I should say, he would have died in real life, but he didn't. So if a human like Hawkins can survive what he did in Halloween, I'm sure Michael can sustain more injuries than your average human being in a slasher movie. So it just makes sense. So to me, that Michael is just human. I've done lots of videos on this. Michael is human to me, but he's still a killing machine and he can still withstand a lot of pain and injuries. So that is the hardest part of this one, because it will always divide fans. And this is something, if I do any more videos like this in the future with regards to any other Halloween movie, the fact that Michael sustains a lot of injuries is always going to be there when it comes to dividing fans, because some people like it and some people don't. If there's anything that I've missed that maybe divides you or divides anyone that you've spoken to with regards to Halloween Kills, leave your comments down below. Let me know what else you think divides fans when it comes to Halloween Kills. And as always guys, I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.